Have you ever asked yourself, what is calligraphy really? When you're a beginner, it all looks like complex loops and swirls and letters, but it's actually not that hard to learn calligraphy.
Let us answer all of your burning questions in this video, like when would you use calligraphy? What's the difference between traditional and modern calligraphy? What supplies do I need? And how can I learn calligraphy so that you can get started today?
So let's start with the question, when does one use calligraphy? So modern calligraphy seems like it's everywhere these days. Just walk down the home decor aisle at Target or look at some greeting cards to see some examples. But traditional calligraphy is often used for formal and elegant work. So think like certificates or weddings, invitations, things like that.
And by the way, when we use the term traditional calligraphy, that can mean different things to different people. Traditional scripts are based on historical works and have distinct rules and characteristics. There are styles that you may have seen before, like Gothic and Italic, which use a broad edge nib, as well as Spencerian and copperplate, which are more delicate and use a flexible pointed nib.
Oh, and by the way, the nib is this end piece of the pen that flexes as you apply more pressure. This is a pointed pen nib.
Yeah, and when we say traditional calligraphy, we are going to be referring to the copperplate style seen here.
So modern calligraphy is based on traditional calligraphy principles and rules, like the basics of letter formation, but a big difference is that it can be done with new tools like brush markers and even iPads. Modern calligraphers strive to develop their own styles, even if it means breaking the rules. So it's less rigid, used in more everyday places like maybe the cover of your journal or an inspiring quote on your wall or just for casual fun projects.
So at first glance, modern and traditional calligraphy can both look similar to cursive, but they're actually quite different in form and function.
In both words, the letters are joined together. The difference is the way that you actually write the letters. So in cursive, you leave your pen on the page for the whole entire word, which makes it really quick to write.
But in calligraphy, the letters appear to be connected together, but you actually are lifting your pen off the page between and within the letters to use multiple strokes, and these strokes are called the basic strokes.
We go into more detail on the basic strokes in another video for you, but calligraphy is, again, different from cursive in that you use the basic strokes. It's also different from hand lettering. So in hand lettering, you draw the outlines of the letters, whereas in calligraphy, you're writing them.
Another difference is that in calligraphy, you apply different amounts of pressure on certain parts of the letters, and you can see this in the thick and the thin strokes.
Right, so thick strokes means that you're pressing harder on your pen. So once you learn the basics of calligraphy, you can start to experiment with styles like this one called flourishing. But let's go back to the basics and talk about how to practice.
You can get started practicing basic calligraphy today with a simple pencil. So let's talk about some pros and cons of practicing with a pencil. Some pros, first of all, you probably already have one lying around in your house. And with a pencil, you can use any kind of paper, no special paper required. Of course, there's an eraser, so it's great for drafting layouts that need revisions, and you don't have to worry about wasting any ink. And also, you can actually get a difference between thick and thin lines using pressure. We'll talk more about which type of pencil to use in a few minutes.
But you can't get the same level of flexibility with a pencil that you can get with traditional tools like a pointed pen. Also, graphite is a lot fainter and can be harder to see than inks used in other pens, but pencil is still a great way to get started, especially because you can get started today. But let's move into brush pens.
So brush pens are great for practicing because the large tip of a brush pen allows you to clearly see the details of the letter forms and help you practice pressure control. Compared to a pointed pen, there's a lot fewer supplies, it's less messy, easier to clean up, easier to get out quickly.
That's like my favorite thing about brush pens compared to pointed pen is it's just so much easier to get them out. You can put them in your purse. You don't have to do any cleanup. And they just work well on a variety of paper goods like envelopes, place cards, framed paper signs, all kinds of things.
One of the hard things, though, about brush pens is that thin strokes are a lot more difficult to get than pointed pen because the tip is soft and it requires a lighter hand and a lot of focus. Also, unlike pencil, you can't just use any old paper that you have. If you use regular copy paper or something rough, you can risk damaging the pen.
Another tool you can practice calligraphy on is an iPad. So this is great if you want to create digital artwork. A lot of people find iPads really convenient because it's more portable than bringing a bunch of calligraphy supplies and paper with you.
Yes, everything is stored digitally. There's also so many different options for the tools, things that you might not have, like different kinds of paint and pens, and you can read more about that in our blog post. So some cons, it can be really hard to transition back and forth between writing on paper and writing on glass. So if your goal is to do calligraphy on paper, we don't recommend that you always practice on the iPad because it'll be harder to switch back to paper.
It's also a little bit overwhelming to get started because unlike just grabbing paper and a tool, you have to learn a whole new interface of an app and how to use the app, and it's a little bit complex if you're newer to it. Also, unless you're planning to keep your work only in a digital format, you'll need to get it printed. And then, of course, if you don't have an iPad, they're very expensive, and you need to make sure that your iPad and the Apple Pencil you're using to write with are new enough to be pressure sensitive in order to actually get the features of calligraphy. And you can actually check out our blog post linked below to see our chart to check if your model is compatible.
But if you do have an iPad, then it's great for practicing on the go. So we recommend that all beginners download our basic strokes practice worksheets to get started. We have different sheets for different tools. We have one for brush pen, iPad, pointed pen, and regular pen. So check the description and pick yours. And if you're committed to learning, we recommend practicing consistently. You'll see progress even with just 15 minutes a day.
Yeah, we'd rather you do 15 minutes a day than like 2 hours one day and then quit for 2 weeks and then do it again for another 3 hours. If you're enjoying this video, why don't you give us a like so we know that you enjoy this type of content. And if you want to learn more about calligraphy, we invite you to join our email list, which is linked in the description, and subscribe to our channel. All right, up next is what tools and supplies do you need for calligraphy? So let's start with what pencil should you use?
Yes. So when you're choosing a pencil, it's important to use something that is softer and also thicker graphite, and this will help you get thicker lines when you press harder, that pressure difference we were talking about earlier. We do have an entire video on pencil calligraphy for you that talks about how to identify the softness and gives you more details if you want to watch that. But you could just use whatever pencil you have on hand at your desk to get started today without having to buy something new. I usually just use a thicker mechanical pencil.
Okay, let's talk about brush pens, and you probably don't have these laying around, so we'll give you some specific brands. A really popular one is the Tombow Dual Brush Pen. It has a large tip and is flexible, and practicing with a large flexible pen will force you to practice control and pay attention to the details. The Tombow Dual Brush Pen is available in many art stores and I think even Target or other regular stores in the US. Another cool thing about it is that it's water-based and blendable, and it has a bullet tip on the other side so you can write with the same color.
As we mentioned before, it can be tough at first to get control of the flexibility, especially the thin stroke. So another great option that's a little bit firmer and easier is the Zig brushables. They are more expensive and they might be harder to find. They do actually have 2 tips, so on each end there's a brush tip. And there are also small brush pens. The most popular is the Tombow Fudenosuke, and it's loved by many beginners because they're easier to control than the larger tip pens. And also because they're smaller, it's closer in size to your regular handwriting.
For small brush pens, we also really like the Pentel Sign Pen with the brush tip, even more than the Tombow Fudenosuke, because we feel like the ink is juicier and it comes in better colors. But a great in-between large and small is the Zig Fudibiyori. It's more of a medium-sized brush pen, and it's firm enough to be a little easier to use, but still has the beautiful flexibility.
If you want to try them all, you can check out our brush pen kit, which has a variety of sizes and flexibilities in a curated collection, and the link is in the description. So once you have your pens, you'll need some paper to write on.
So we like to use HP Premium 32-pound paper, which is a higher quality paper that's smooth and thick, which is really important, especially for brush pens. So you can print off practice sheets on the paper. You can even use it to create final pieces.
We also love using Canson marker paper. It's great because it's thin enough to see through, but it doesn't tear. You can use it over guide sheets so that you don't have to print new guide sheets every time. It's also super smooth and perfect for practicing drills and planning layouts.
We currently have a supply kit that's sold through Paper and Ink Arts that's perfect for beginners because it includes some of our favorite paper, pointed pen, and brush pen supplies. So check that out at lovelyloops.com/supply kit, which is also linked in the description.
So now that you've chosen all your supplies, the last thing you need for practicing calligraphy is a resource to learn from. There are lots of great books out there. Many people these days enjoy the convenience of learning online, like this video you're watching right now. And by the way, if you're looking for a good next video to watch our basic strokes video.
If you're excited and ready to make an investment in learning calligraphy, you can join any of our online calligraphy courses right now and get instant access to an entire roadmap of courses and learning modules. They're very in-depth courses that go through all the basics and the more in-depth details, and they give you worksheets, and they're split up into learning modules to make learning and results really easy.
So if you don't have the budget for learning the basics of calligraphy in our courses, we do have lots of free resources like we've mentioned. Those are all linked in the description for you to start right away.
We just love being your calligraphy teachers, so if you enjoy learning from us, then please subscribe to our channel so that we can practice together, and we'll see you next time.